Thank you once again for joining us for our time together on Cam Harvey's Through the Noise. Cam, we've revisited, AI through a couple of our sessions, and one of the narratives around AI is that it's going to grab all the jobs and lead to some bad outcomes. And recently we've noticed negative growth in the job market. We've seen negative revisions in the data that's coming out. And I thought maybe we should spend a little bit of time digging into that.
Sure. This is an extraordinary time. And I believe that February 5th, 2026 will go down in history as a historic day.
Why is that?
So that was the day that Anthropic's Claude 4.6 was released. And you might say, well, it's no big deal, 4.5, 4.6. No, the news was not the release of 4.6. The news was that it was 100% coded by AI. So instead of like a team of people doing the programming, it was AI coding a version of AI. And this is called, in computer science, recursive self-improvement. And it is a very, very big deal. So rightfully so, people took that and saw the potential of a substantial disruption in the job market for many white-collar jobs. So this was, again, February 5th is that point. Very significant.
So you've seen this recursive thing happens. When I'm looking at the jobs out in the marketplace, which ones do you think are most at risk?
Yeah, so let me kind of step back a little bit before I get to the winners and losers. So there are many jobs that will be replaced, but we're seeing this just in general. So you mentioned at the beginning a revision. So we had a revision where we lost 1 million jobs, and nobody noticed. Like the GDP is growing at a reasonable rate, and we lose 1 million jobs, and it doesn't really affect anything. And that's because of productivity gains with the existing AI that we already have. Another example is Jack Dorsey's Block. They lay off 4,000 people. The stock price goes up by 24%. So making an announcement that we're going to pivot towards AI, and I think also the Block story is more complicated. They might have overhired in the first place, but nevertheless, that's an important signal to the market. So the point is that this technology allows people to be much more productive than in the past, and that means that some jobs will be replaced, and those that remain become dramatically more productive. And when you put that together, you get GDP growth. So you would think that with employment going down, that's usually a negative association with growth. That's not necessarily the case in this particular situation if we've got this pickup in productivity. And then this is really important. I talk to my colleagues about this all the time, and some of my colleagues will refer to AI as a tool, and it is no longer a tool. A calculator is a tool. So we're moving to a world where the AI is an agent. And that's much different. So the agent can organize, make decisions, execute a plan. So this is totally different than anything that we've seen before.
When you say agent, you mean that it has some autonomy, that it can make, I don't want to say decisions because we're putting a human trait on these things, but it can act without your direct input, like a tool would require direct input.
Yeah, if you allow it. And that's essentially the announcement on February 5th that, oh, well, this version, the Claude 4.6, was coded by AI. So this is a big deal, and it's something that we've not seen historically. We've got just unprecedented computing power, and there's no sign that that will be diminishing. For me, it is kind of remarkable seeing NVIDIA's Hopper, Blackwell, the Rubin that they've announced. That in my time, there was a supercomputer called the Cray XP2, and it was remarkable. It did 1.6 trillion operations per second. Well, the latest NVIDIA chip is 25 million times as powerful as that. So again, this conflux of software and computing power ushers in a new age. And there will be winners and losers. And most of the conversation has been on the losers. And let me unpack just a few. So think of tax preparation as we approach April 15th. That's just an algorithm. The tax code is complex, and we employ tax accountants, or we buy software to do this. In the future, that will be done by AI for your $20 a month subscription, just part of the package. And within accounting and tax preparation, there's maybe 3 million jobs. And if we assume half are replaced, that's 1.5 million. Another interesting field is law. So again, law is, it's not as algorithmic as tax preparation, but nevertheless, the large language models are really good at the law. And if you look at the total number of lawyers, it's about 900,000 in the US, and then maybe 300,000 paralegals. And then every year, 36,000 new lawyers graduate in the US. And I'm thinking half. So we're going to lose half. So again, junior lawyers coming in, searching for precedent for a particular case. That can be done instantly with AI. So there will be very significant and fast disruption. So is this a disaster for the US? I don't think so. So I've talked to you about this before, that fortunately the US is the leader in AI right now and other disruptive technologies, a very rich country. And many of those that are disrupted will be reallocated to more productive uses. There will be a window, perhaps, of a couple of years where it will be difficult, but I do believe they will be relocated, and some will elect to work fewer hours to make room for more people. So think of some people choosing to do 20 hours rather than 35. So that's like 2 jobs that one person did in the past. So I don't see this as a mass unemployment situation. I see this as a reallocation of human capital in a way that is fueled by productivity growth, more leisure time, and the standard of living actually goes up. So I think that this holds a lot of promise for economic growth, and growth is something that our economy needs, especially given the size of the U.S. debt at $38 trillion. Like, we need growth. So growth is ideal because if you grow, then the tax revenue just naturally increases, and we need that. And I do believe it's feasible to move away from this, 1.9% growth is good, to we want 5 to 7% real GDP growth. And that can make a dent in the deficit and our debt.
Well, this is a fascinating take on this disruptive technology that we're all experiencing it on a daily basis, and it's changing so rapidly. So it will be interesting to see how all of this plays out, Cam.
Yeah, definitely.